I gave them everything. 70-hour weeks, no sick days, missed birthdays. I even skipped my sister's wedding call for a company I truly believed in. Then one Monday morning, I got caught in traffic. Not just the usual kind. This was the kind that makes the morning news. A pileup shut down Iminus 196. There was no way around it. I was 5 minutes late. When I walked in, my boss, Matt, didn't ask questions. He didn't even look surprised. He just stared at me and said, "Pack your things. You're done." I didn't cry. Not then. I just stood there, hollowed out. He handed me a box that was already taped shut like they'd planned it, like I didn't matter. That's the day everything changed. I'm Brooke Landry, 29, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and this is how I made my boss regret firing the one person he couldn't replace. They used to call me the backbone of Echelon Systems. When I started, we were barely more than a startup, just announcing people jammed into a cramped office that smelled like cheap coffee and burnt ambition. I was fresh out of college, desperate to prove myself. Back home, I was invisible. My mom always had her attention on my older sister, Sarah's golden child. My dad, he barely noticed whether I was in the room. So I learned early, if I wanted to be seen, I had to be exceptional. Echelon was my shot. I threw myself into the work, long hours, sleepless nights, building something that felt bigger than me. I helped architect the very system our company would run on. I trained new hires, documented our processes, even wrote the employee handbook that shaped our culture. It wasn't just a job, it was mine, my creation, my identity. Then Matt Parker showed up, the new VP, all tailored suits and polished charm, great at presentations, even better at taking credit. To him, I was reliable, not brilliant, not essential, just consistent. I'd spend weeks building a feature, optimizing a system, saving the company thousands. I'd walk him through it, step by step. He'd nod, barely listening, then pitch the idea in a board meeting like it was his. Every time it happened, it felt like a punch to the gut. But I swallowed it. For the company, for the team, I told myself it didn't matter who got the credit so long as we succeeded. Right. I lost track of how many weekends I spent at my desk, debugging, designing, pushing past burnout because the mission felt worth it. My social life disappeared. Friends stopped inviting me places. Family events blurred into apologies. Even Sarah's wedding. She called me the night before, her voice thick with emotion. "It's my wedding, Brooke. You're my sister." "I know," I whispered, "but the system's down. I have to fix it." I watched her walk down the aisle on a laggy video stream while I rebooted a server. I cried silently, alone in a dark office. Matt saw me that day, hunched at my desk. He gave me a light pat on the shoulder. "Good job, Brooke, team player." No bonus, no recognition, just another task, another expectation. My family thought I was choosing work over them. They didn't see the pressure, the responsibility. They didn't know what I'd built. I thought it would all pay off, that loyalty meant something, that I was securing a future. And then came that Monday. Just like every other day, alarm, coffee, commute. Until the traffic report hit, pile up, gridlock, nothing moving for miles. I tried calling the office, no answer. Tried again, still nothing. I walked in, 5 minutes late. And that's when Matt ended everything. No warning, no discussion. Just a taped-up box and a cold goodbye. But that's not where my story ends. That's where it starts. I texted Matt as soon as I realized I'd be late, explaining the pileup on Iminus 196, knowing full well he probably wouldn't read it until he got to his desk. 5 minutes, that's all it was. 5 minutes after years of giving them everything, working through illness, missing birthdays, skipping holidays, even my sister's wedding. 5 minutes, and it was over. The moment I stepped into the office, I knew something was wrong. The air felt dense, still. Matt stood by my desk, arms folded, waiting. HR flanked in burnt faces, one of them clutching a white envelope. My heart dropped. "Brooke Landry," Matt began, his voice like ice. "We've warned you about punctuality. This is a repeat offense." Repeat offense. Once months ago I'd been 2 minutes late after a dentist appointment. I'd apologized profusely. That was it. But now, suddenly, it was a pattern. It felt rehearsed, scripted, like they'd been waiting for an excuse. He handed me the envelope. "Termination effective immediately." I stared at the words, but they'd barely registered. My mind was racing. They didn't mention the 30+ hours of unpaid overtime I had clocked in the last 2 weeks, time I spent fixing a mission-critical bug that saved the company thousands. No handshake, no thanks, just, "Turn in your badge, your laptop." I wasn't an employee. I was a line item being deleted. The office blurred around me. Some co-workers avoided eye contact. Others threw me pitying glances, pretending to be busy. Only Sarah from accounting dared to speak. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "You deserve so much better, Brooke. We all know it." Her words were a bomb but also a painful reminder. No one was standing up. No one would. They were afraid. I was utterly alone. I packed what little I had into a flimsy cardboard box, the cheap edges cut into my side. As I walked out beneath the harsh fluorescent lights, my exit, lit by the very place I had given years of my life to. The elevator ride felt like a free fall. I didn't cry until I reached my car, parked in the employee lot I practically lived in. I gripped the steering wheel and sobbed until my chest ached. It wasn't just sadness, it was shame. Shame that I had believed in him, that I'd stayed loyal, that I felt I mattered. But as the tears dried, something colder settled in resolve. I wasn't done, not even close. The first week was a haze of grief, confusion, bitterness. I'd wake up, heart racing, thinking I was late for work, only to remember there was no job anymore. The silence in my apartment pressed in on me like a weight. I kept asking myself the same question. Was it all for nothing? I gave so much, skipped life events, worked impossible hours, sacrificed my health, my relationships, and they discarded me like I was nothing. My family tried to console me, but they didn't get it. "Just apply somewhere else," my mom said gently, as if that solved everything. Sarah tried to be supportive, but how could she understand? She had the dream life, a steady job, a husband, a family that showed up. I had none of that, just a hollow space where my career used to be. I applied for jobs, but rejection after rejection chipped away at me. I felt invisible, like I'd poured myself into something for years, and now I had nothing to show for it. The stress mounted. My savings were thin. I'd always assumed I'd have a raise, a promotion, something. I cut corners, ate instant noodles, turned off lights to save power. I stopped dreaming, stopped hoping. Until one night, unable to sleep, I opened my old files, not to job hunt, just to feel something familiar. I clicked through folders from my early days at Echelon, designs, logs, flowcharts back when it was just me and a handful of others dreaming out loud. And then I saw it. The source files for the project management system. The backbone of the entire company. I built it from scratch, line by line, version by version, late nights, weekends, no templates, just raw creation. And then it hit me. There was no contract, no transfer of ownership, no NDA, no intellectual property clause, at least not when I wrote the foundation. It was all before the formal structure, before the legal team, before the paperwork. I hadn't signed anything. I still owned it. The next morning, I found a lawyer, Miss Davies, sharp, direct, brilliant. I told her everything, every bug I fixed, every overtime hour, every line of code. She listened carefully, took notes, then leaned back and said, "Miss Landry, this company is operating on your intellectual property without legal authority. You have a case, a very strong one." A cease and desist letter was drafted and sent. The day it landed at Echelon, I held my breath. Would they laugh, ignore it, threaten me? They didn't. The following Monday, Echelon's operations collapsed. Project timelines frowncy, orders delayed, systems broke. The software that held their entire company together had been pulled from under them and they had no backup, because I was the one who always fixed it. My inbox blew up with messages, old colleagues posting cryptic updates on LinkedIn, clients complaining about outages, rumors of legal meetings behind closed doors. Echelon was in chaos, and I was no longer invisible. Word traveled fast. I heard through the grapevine that Matt was in full-blown panasailing in meetings, blaming his team, demanding to know how things had fallen apart so quickly. The irony was delicious. He fired the one person who built their foundation, and now that foundation was crumbling beneath them. But I wasn't just watching it burn. I was building something better. I pulled out an old notebook dusty from disuse, filled with scribbled ideas and half-formed dreams. Inside was a concept for a smarter logistics platform, one that didn't punish people for being human, one that actually respected the people behind the systems. I had nothing to lose, and for the first time in years, everything I was doing felt like it was for me. The late nights returned, but they were different now, no longer born of obligation or fear. This time, they were fueled by fire. I poured my expertise, my heartbreak, my hard-won lessons into this new platform. I knew exactly what the industry needed because I'd lived through everything it didn't. I reached out to old contacts, quiet professionals trapped in corporate red tape, who had always admired my work but never had a reason or the courage to jump ship. Now they did. I wasn't selling a product, I was offering a lifeline. The first to bite was a small distributor who hated their current system. I demoed my platform, tailored it to their exact workflow. Within weeks, their operations were faster, smoother, better. They became my first success story. Then came another. And another. Within 6 months, 3 of Echelon's biggest clients had quietly and decisively switched to me. They were done with downtime, done with excuses, done with Matt. My platform worked and they trusted the person behind it. That's when the email landed. Subject: catching up. It was from Ed. My pulse quickened. He wanted to talk, to clear the air. I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't owe him anything, but curiosity and maybe a small taste for poetic justice nudged me toward yes. We met at a quiet cafe far from Echelon's glass tower. He was already there, waiting, hair mussed, dark circles under his eyes. The confidence he once wore like armor was gone, replaced by something else. Desperation. He talked first, nervous, rambling, about how difficult things had been since the cease and desist, how clients were jumping ship, how leadership was panicking. He mentioned legal pressure, dropped hints about damage. I said nothing. He leaned forward, voice low, eyes pleading. "Brooke, we need you. I need you. Come back. We'll make you VP. Name your salary. Whatever it takes, please." It was surreal. This man, who had once tossed me aside like yesterday's trash, now begging me to fix what he had broken. I took a slow sip of coffee, then met his eyes, calm, steady. "Ned," I said, my voice level, clear, "I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done." His face fell. "But don't you want to make things right, help Echelon survive?" I stood up, sliding my empty cup aside. "You taught me what loyalty costs, and I've paid that debt in full. I won't go back to being invisible, not when I finally built something that reflects my worth." I turned to leave. No hard feelings, I added over my shoulder. But this story, it's mine now. I didn't look back. Since then, the business has grown faster than I ever imagined. The platform is thriving. Clients trust me because I see them not as numbers, but as people. Even my family, once distant and confused, has started to understand. They see the difference in me, the fire in my eyes, the ownership in my voice. For the first time, I am truly seen. Not by a boss, not by a company. By me. This isn't a revenge story. It's a reclamation. And I'm just getting started.